In America, we grow up with the idea that if we just work hard enough, or if we find the right shortcut, happiness will finally fall into place. We scroll social media and see people living perfect lives, fancy houses, fast cars, dream vacations. Deep down, we wonder, why not me? Why am I still restless even when I accomplish things? That restless spirit is where our story begins. In a crowded American city, there lived a young craftsman named Elias. He was no ordinary worker. His hands seemed to carry magic. With wood, stone, or metal, he could shape masterpieces that left people speechless. Customers admired his skill. Friends envied his talent. But Elias himself, he never felt satisfied. Every time he finished a piece, the joy lasted only briefly, like fireworks fading too soon. He often muttered under his breath, "Why does this wood fight me? Why does this stone resist me? If only the material were softer, smoother, easier, then I'd finally be happy." To Elias, happiness meant a life without struggle, and in many ways, doesn't that sound familiar? In America, we often buy into the same idea. If we could just automate more tasks, optimize our time, find the perfect hack, life would finally feel complete. One day, Elias's life took a sharp turn. At a local market, he overheard an old merchant whispering about something extraordinary. "There's a hidden valley," the man said, lowering his voice. "The valley of the golden timber. The wood there glows in the sunlight so soft you can carve it with a spoon. It never resists you, never cracks. It's the secret to effortless perfection." Elias' heart raced. Could this be it? The easy path? The permanent joy he'd been chasing? Without hesitation, Elias sold his workshop, packed a bag, and demanded directions. The merchant chuckled, shaking his head. "It's real," he said, "but the valley lies beyond the mountain of discomfort. Few make it across." Elias brushed off the warning. If the reward is effortless, it's worth the climb. And so Elias left the city. His mind was filled with visions of a life free from struggle, where joy flowed without resistance. At first, the path was smooth. But soon he reached the jagged peaks of the mountain of discomfort. The air grew thin, the stones cut into his shoes, and sharp winds pushed him back. He complained every step of the way. "Why does this have to be so hard? This pain is stealing my happiness. Once I reach the golden timber, all this will be gone. That's when I'll finally be free." But what Elias didn't see, at least, not yet, was that the mountain wasn't his enemy. It was his teacher. And that lesson was waiting for him just around the bend. Elias pressed on step after miserable step, climbing higher into the mountain of discomfort. The struggle consumed him. Every slip on the rocks, every cut on his hands, every gust of cold wind, he hated it all. He saw other travelers too. They moved slower than him, carefully placing one step after the other. They didn't complain. Their faces carried quiet strength, almost peace. Elias didn't understand it. Why accept the struggle when there's an easy valley waiting on the other side? Still, he kept going. Not because he embraced the climb, but because he couldn't stomach quitting. His American grit pushed him forward. The stubborn pride that says, "I won't give up even if I hate every second of this." Along the way, Elias picked up scraps of rough, twisted wood from fallen branches. They weren't beautiful. They weren't easy to carve. But he needed them for survival, to build a fire at night, to craft a crude walking stick for balance. The ugly wood frustrated him. He never thought of it as valuable, just a necessity. The golden timber was the real prize. Finally, after weeks of climbing, Elias crested the last peak. His jaw dropped. Before him stretched the valley of the golden timber. The trees glowed with a soft golden light, their trunks shining as if painted by the sun itself. His heart pounded with joy. He ran down the slope, trembling with excitement. "This is it," he whispered. "The life I've been searching for." Elias found a massive log, pulled out his sharpest chisel, and pressed it to the glowing wood. The blade sank in effortlessly, like cutting butter. For the first time in his life, his work required no struggle, no sanding, no correction. Within an hour, he had carved a perfect little bowl. Smooth, flawless, beautiful. Elias grinned, tears of relief in his eyes. Finally, happiness is mine. But when he picked up the bowl, something strange happened. The delicate edge cracked. Then the entire side crumbled under the weight of his touch. The bowl collapsed into dust in his hands. He froze. The golden timber was too soft, too weak. It had no strength, no resilience, no density. The effortlessness that had thrilled him was also its downfall. The wood was worthless. Elias carved again, this time a cup. It too crumbled. then a statue. Same result. Every piece looked perfect, but couldn't survive even the gentlest pressure. Elias sat in the glowing valley for 2 days, staring at the piles of useless wood. His dream was a lie. All along he had been chasing an illusion, ease without effort, success without struggle, beauty without depth, and now he was stuck in a paradise that was nothing more than a gilded cage. Elias sat in silence, ashamed. He had sold his workshop, abandoned his life, and endured weeks of misery to reach a valley of emptiness. The golden timber had promised happiness. Instead, it left him hollow. As he packed his bag to leave, his eyes fell on the crude walking stick he had carved from that rough mountain wood. It was ugly, scarred, and crooked, but it had saved his life more than once. Unlike the golden timber, it was real. That's when the truth began to dawn on him. Back in the city, Elias no longer hunted for perfect materials. Instead, he collected the rough, knotty wood from the mountain, the kind he once despised. He set it on his workbench and began to carve. This wood resisted him. Every cut demanded strength. Every knot slowed him down. He had to be patient, disciplined, steady. Hours turned into days, but something shifted in Elias. For the first time, he wasn't chasing quick happiness. He was absorbed in the process. When the piece was finally complete, Elias unveiled it to the city. It wasn't perfect. The scars of the wood showed. The grain ran uneven, but it was stunning. It carried weight, character, and resilience. People marveled not just at the beauty, but at the story it told. For the first time in his life, Elias felt fulfillment that lasted. Not the short-lived joy of something easy, but the deep satisfaction of effort transformed into meaning. He finally understood. The golden timber was never the answer. The gnarled wood of the mountain, the resistance, the challenge, the discomfort, that was the path to real happiness. And isn't that the American truth? We live in a culture obsessed with life hacks, instant success, and shortcuts. But shortcuts rarely give us the strength we need. True happiness doesn't come from avoiding struggle. It comes from embracing it, leaning into the challenge, letting it shape us, and finding joy not in perfection but in progress. So if you're searching for that golden valley where life is smooth and effortless, stop. Look around. The wood in front of you, the tough, resistant, frustrating parts of your life, that's the material of meaning. Because the real masterpiece isn't found in the golden timber. It's carved out of struggle. And if this story resonates with you, hit like, share, and subscribe. Join us as we explore more stories that remind us. Lasting joy isn't in what comes easy. It's in what we fight for.